Good morning. Welcome to a morning edition of the 1885 show. This is your warm-up to Easter Monday's big home game versus Norwich City at the Den. Joining me this morning is Dan. Dan, welcome, mate. Feeling after that massive win on Good Friday away at Borough?
Yeah, mate, I'm absolutely buzzing. It was a great game, right? I still can't believe how it turned out, wasn't it? Like, obviously, first half was not great, was it? And then second half, we come out all guns blazing, and then got the winner and two great goals. To be fair,
yeah, really good from Josh Coburn as well. You know, he's had his sort of cons, I suppose, when we first signed him, but like Alex Neil said, the injury probably did him a favour because he looks, you know, he's physical, he's stronger, he wants to take the ball with his back towards defenders, and he was a handful, absolute handful all game. You know, it was a bit of back and forth between him and Ayling through the game where, you know, Ayling sort of had the better of him, so he thought where he'd won a couple of fouls, was getting in his face a little bit, but he had the last laugh and Millwall had the last laugh, and that win put us up to second in the table, 1 point clear of Borough, although Ipswich have got a couple of games in hand, but you'd rather want points on the table than games in hand, in my opinion, at this point, which that result then sends us into now our next biggest game of the seasons and move to Norwich, because this is a different test. We're at home now. We've been very good away from home. We're not terrible at home, but this is now the biggest game of the season, and there is only 6 left. 6 at home to Norwich City. Before we get into our first segment, if you are enjoying the content, only 60% of our viewers are actually subscribers. If you don't mind, drop a like, drop a share, subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost anything, but it does help us reach more like-minded Millwall fans like yourself, and it helps with the algorithm as well. We've got something really big brewing, and we hope that you'll all get involved when it does launch. That being said, let's get into our first segment then, Dan. Let's look at the tail of the tape. And it's fairly even reading across the board. You look at the last 5 games for Millwall, we've won 3, lost 1, drawn 1. Norwich, they've absolutely matched that. You know, they've won 3, lost 1 and drawn 1 as well. We've conceded 4 goals in that time. They've only conceded 3 goals in that time. We look at the last 5 in the form table. They're actually above us in the last 5 in the form table. I imagine that is.
I think it's just through goal difference.
I mean, the goal difference.
Through goal difference, I think
3.
it is.
It's the exact same goal difference. We're actually the same. It's probably down to goals scored or
maybe
something like that at the end of the day. But the form table, Millwall are 5th, Norwich are in 4th. Goal difference of 3 apiece. Points of 10 apiece. The league table, though, doesn't lie, though, because Norwich have had a really, you know, they've had a testing time towards the start and the middle of the season, changed managers. They started to pick up under Clement. You know, they're 11th in the table now, goal difference of 6, plus on 55 points. We're 2nd in the table, plus 10 goal difference, 72 points. The last 5 games head-to-head, there's been no draws. There was no draws in the last head-to-head that we spoke about, I believe, with Borough, and that is 3 wins to Millwall, 0 draws, 2 wins for Norwich. This is a different team we're going to see, Dan White, as opposed to the team that went to Carrow Road and beat them for the first time in many years away from home at the first game of the season. This is going to be a different test now, right? Different manager, different setup. You know, the players look a little better as well. They've got some really good, talented players. Different test for us Monday.
It seems like a younger team they've got now from when we played them. It's always, like I say, these next 6 games are always going to be tough for us now, like especially as we've got something to play for. But yeah, I can see it being a physical game on Monday against Norwich. I think that's what I've seen with them the last couple of games. They've actually quite a physical side now, whereas before they wasn't. They like to hold possession as well quite a lot now, and they've got some threat going forward as well.
Yeah, they have. They're very well drilled, aren't they, Anna Clement? They are very well drilled. They're a good outfit. They're probably, you know, I think they're one of the most formed teams in the division. They certainly are over the last 5. They're a really big form team. But they have, ever since Clement came in, they've been really good. You know, Pompey have got something to play for. They drew with Pompey yesterday. They've got something to play for, and they slipped up a little bit, Norwich. It probably did us a very slight favour because I don't know if they could have made the playoffs. I don't think they could have think it might have been just a little bit of a stretch for them. I think the bad start they had just wasn't going to get overcome.
No.
Their playoff run might be over. I don't want to say that they're going to be on the beach, but I might be wrong. They may be able to. 6 games, that's a lot of points still. But I do think that we've got the bit between our teeth at the moment. And looking at the last 5, looking at the last 5 times we've played them, I just fancy us on Monday. I fancy us against anybody at this stage of the season, to be fair, with how we played. What are your thoughts going into Monday based off of that last 5?
Yeah, no, it's like I say, it's going to be a tough battle. Norwich ain't an easy team. Like I say, it's the first time we've beat them in a long time when we first played them at the beginning of the season. But I still think, like I say, any team we play in at the moment, the confidence these lads have against any team is so buzzing. Like I say, even over social media, seeing that video of them in the changing room when Josh Coburn come in, and the excitement and the togetherness of the team. What Alex Neil's done to this team and to our club is excellent. You know what I mean? I still, like I say, it's at the Den, so the atmosphere is going to be rocking, obviously, from yesterday's game. I just think, like I say, 6 big games coming up, and I still feel confident that we can beat. To be fair, the 6 games we got up, I feel confident we can win all 6.
Yeah, you got to look at that. You got to have that belief. Alex Neil certainly installed that. He really, really has. And yesterday, I think that's the first time someone put it out. I think that's the first time Borough have scored first at home and then lost the game.
Yeah, it is.
Since
Yeah, they've
2023.
from winning like position, but they've lost 2 points.
It's remarkable, and that's since 2023. And it's a long time in this division. That's very impressive. And something, we're in the business this season of doing special things at special times. You look at Norwich, you look at Middlesbrough, you look at a lot of games this season where it shouldn't have happened, and it has happened. It could be the year. But let's dive now into our next segment, being the opposition under the microscope. And this is where we basically look at some of the things that Norwich do well, some of the things that Norwich don't do well, or they might be middle of the pack in if there's nothing glaring, and just look at where we can exploit those weaknesses and what we need to do to limit their strengths. I'll start with the things that they don't do well. And I picked out 2 things that they don't do well, Dan, and I'll get your thoughts on them. And I'll kind of keep what they don't do well and what they do well together if I can. To try and make them make sense. But what they don't do is aerial duels. They rank in the bottom third for aerial duels and also in the bottom third for clearances. Borough were pretty much a similar outlook in front of that. And we saw...
Yeah, you could see that. Yes,
we saw it yesterday, right? And we saw it with Coburn's first goal. We won. I mean, we had the first touch of the ball 3 times for Coburn's first goal. So that speaks to the clearances that they're not doing very well, the aerial duels that they're not doing very well. And it's very much similar for Norwich, right? They're bottom third. They're not bottom. They're not disastrous, and they're just not great, right? Out of 24 teams, to be in the bottom third of anything is considered, in my opinion, a deficiency of your game. Aerial duels, bottom third, clearances, bottom third. That is something that we'll be licking our lips for, right? Because we're pretty good at exploiting that type of thing. You look at our goals from set pieces, the balls we get into the box, and the sort of stature of the height and the physicality of some of our centre halves and Coburn. Is that what we need to look to exploit? Something Alex Neil will look at?
Oh yeah, I think definitely. Like I say, we've got some very, very tall players in our squad. And not even just the aerial drills, even just the physicality, like getting into the box, whipping them balls into and getting like crosses in as much as we can. Because like you say, if they're struggling with aerial defence and clearances, all you need is someone in that 6-yard box just to tap it in like you did with Coburn yesterday. So, yeah, no, obviously I would definitely start whipping in crosses, get as much crosses in as we can in the box. Obviously just threaten, shoot on sight as we can. So I'm up for it.
Yeah, and I think that you've got to look at, what we do really, really well and what they don't do very, very well. And you have to exploit that. We put in a number of crosses into the box. We actually lead the league in aerial duels, one with 1,055. I don't know if that's updated from yesterday yet, but we lead the league in that. If they're bottom third in that, we've got to be looking at getting the ball into the box at every opportunity, that we can get and win our headers, right? We've got to win our headers because we're actually sort of middle of the pack for headers won or goals scored through headers. You know, Norwich are, again, they're bottom four for that. We've got 8, they've got 5. So there's not a massive difference, but in terms of positioning where it is,
Yeah.
it's the maximum in the league, 17 from Derby. But, you know, we won the most aerial duels in the league. So you've got to look at that as being one of the really big positives or one of the really big exploratory parts of the game that we've got to look at. I think we did it quite well yesterday, especially in that second half with putting the balls into the box and forcing Borough with their lack of clearances, with their aerial duel ability. Norwich is going to be very, very similar. And I think with the clearances as well, you've got to look at the second balls, right? That's what Borough didn't do well yesterday with the second ball and the third ball for that matter for Coburn's first ball. So it isn't just a case of winning the aerial duel. If we don't win it, we're in prime position to win the second ball because they don't clear it very, very well.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I say, like yesterday's game when they had the clearance, you still had, you see at the edge of the 18-yard box, you had a Millwall player there just to even have a shot, and then nearly scored a good goal with a volley from that clearance. So yeah, no, it's just obviously I think Alex Neil's got a game plan like he has in every team that he's up against now. And like I say, you look at that and see like, oh, that's a good thing for us. Yeah, I just think we just got to play to our game like we have done. And yeah, just I'm just buzzing at the moment. I can't. It just seems surreal this season for us and what we're going through.
Yeah, it does. It does. Norwich don't do everything bad, right? You know, we can exploit some of the things they do with the clearances and the aerial duels. That's something that we can exploit. But what they're good at is they knock it about really well. Yeah, the top 6 in the league for passes, they knock it about really, really well, and they don't give any fouls. I think they're bottom third again for fouls conceded, so they don't give up many fouls. They're very astute when they're on the ball. They're very astute with their defending in that sense that you either beat them or they win the ball. They tend to not foul you. They're not reckless, right? Set pieces is a big part of our game. And if they're not giving up many set pieces in terms of free kicks, corners are going to be slightly different. But if they're not giving away any free kicks, we've really got to make sure that when we do beat a man, we get the ball into the box. And defensively, especially in midfield, we've got to stop them knocking it about because that's what Borough did well. It causes problems. Norwich are very much the same. They deploy a 4-2-3-1 and they like to play with it, mate.
Yeah, no, I agree. They like to play the ball a lot, and I think it's going to be one of those battles again, like we did yesterday with the midfield. Because obviously, I think is it Kenny or something? He's like, he's their main.
That's exactly it. It's McLean actually. It's Kevin McLean. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. It is definitely going to be a battle, and we've not only got to win these these microscopic battles in terms of what they don't do well, what they do well, and how we can exploit that. There's also battles all over the pitch, right? So let's look at our next segment, which is the key matchups. And this is where I've picked out 3 matchups that I think Millwall need to exploit in order for us to be prosperous in the game, right? Some of them are fairly obvious because you need to win the obvious battles, but some may not be so obvious. The first one I've gone with, though, is I've gone with Aziz versus Fisher.
Yeah.
Fisher's a right-footed left-back, or he's been playing left-back. So that speaks to me that he's going to want to try and show Femi inside quite a lot. Now, Femi enjoys that, but if you notice majority of Femi's crosses, it's him cutting back onto his right foot and then levelling it across the box. It's only really when we play a bit of a 1-2 and he's able to get the time that he'll cut in and cross it. He tends to take more of his shots by cutting in. So if he cuts in on his left, it's 9 times out of 10 a cross. A shot. If he goes back out on his right-hand side, it's normally a really definitely low ball type of cross in. Even if you're a left-footed left-back, playing against Aziz is a problem. But being a right-footed left-back, you tend to be more on your inside rather than forcing someone outside. And Aziz is extremely good with both feet. So this is a matchup that I think Aziz should win, and not that we think he must win. I think he should win, and it will be pivotal to whether we get something out of the game to getting balls into the box to deal with their lack of aerial duel ability, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, you've seen this Fisher a couple of times because he come from the Bromley Academy. and he's still young though. I think he's only just recently got into the starting 11. So it's one of those things that Aziz has got to punish him. You know, just take the advantage of him. Like left back, but he's right footed, so he's going to always not be in the right position, sort of thing. If you know what I mean? But you know what I mean? Aziz, when he's on his game, he can beat anyone. You know, like I say, you got to just drive and attack him and get them balls into the box. And yeah,
No, I agree, and that is one that I do think we'll look at exploiting because of it is awkward to be. It's probably harder to be a left-footed right back than it is to be a right-footed left back. We see lots of right-footed players play left back. Danny Mack does it quite well, to be honest, for us. So while I don't think it's a massive problem, it's they obviously are very comfortable with him there because they're playing him there. I just think with Aziz's quality, his ability with both feet to get the ball into the box, I think will just pose a natural problem for Fisher, where he's naturally going to want to try and show Aziz inside where he's on his strong foot, where he can make the tackle. But in doing that, you show Femi on his strong foot as well. So it is an avenue for us to exploit. The next one I've gone for is Magoma versus Sturge. Magoma's a really, really good player. Really good player. He could play central midfield. He could play out wide. I think he'll start out wide on that flank up against Sturge. He's in nine. I think he's only played 9 matches this season since he's coming back into the side. He played at the weekend. He's got 1 goal, 1 assist. He's only young. He's 24 years old, but he's very quick, and he's a bit explosive and he's a bit unpredictable, and he can have a moment in him, right? Sturge, I think, has done very, very, very well. I think, especially in the second half against Bury yesterday, he was all over Callum Britton. He pinned him back a little bit more after Britton was getting on him a little bit. And I think he's been really, really good, Sturge. I backed him in the Borough warm-up to be able to deal with Whittaker if Whittaker was playing, but Whittaker didn't play. I'm backing him again to be able to deal with this tomorrow. I mean, on Monday, sorry. I don't know if Magoma will start. Like I say, he hasn't played many games, but whether that be through injury or just through being unfavoured. But back in the side yesterday for Norwich, I expect him to start at home to Millwall and go up against Zach Sturge.
Yeah, no, like I say, Zach Sturge has been phenomenal for us since coming in. Magoma is very, like I say, very young, very quick. He's quite skillful as well. I think he's playing, like I say, because of Norwich's injuries currently at the moment. I don't think he would have played if it wasn't for that injury crisis they've got at the moment. But like I say, Sturge defensively is excellent. You know, it makes the other players have to think what they do. Whereas before, like sometimes some players already know what they're doing before they even got to the bar. Whereas with Zach Sturge, he forces them to go more towards the line. And very rarely you see him get beat as well. Zach Sturge has done great, and I think it'd be a good battle between them both. But I think Sturge will show the capability that he's got in anyone.
Yeah, I agree. I just really, really like Sturge at the moment, and Alfie Doughty wasn't in the squad yesterday, but he trained. I imagine Monday it might be the game for Alfie Doughty. Might come in. You might want to rest some legs. I don't think Sturge gets rested. I really, really don't. I think he plays, and I think Alfie does play a part in it. We're going to need Alfie in the running. So, but I do expect it to be Sturge without giving too much away for the lineup. But I do think, Sturge is capable of dealing with Magoma. I think Sturge is capable of dealing with majority of wingers in the league. I think he struggled a little bit at Hull when he played at Hull, but other than that, I don't think Sturge has really had a terrible time.
He's been excellent for us.
Yeah, he has. No, he has, and that's credit to him. Moving on to the last matchup I've gone with, and this is, and I hope we don't butcher his name, but it's Matthias Kvitzgarden. Centre forward, or he could play out wide. He could play right wing. He could play left wing. He's primarily a centre forward. They brought him in from Bromby. I think they spent quite a bit of money on him, a lot of money on him. I think it was in the tens of millions. I think about 13, 14 million. It may have been. It may be less. About between 8 and 13. I think they paid. But big player for them. Big player for them. 30 appearances. He's got 6 goals, 1 assist. Started at the weekend for Norwich as well. Didn't score. Patterson scored for them at the weekend, but played full 90. This is a problem and I've gone with Taylor. because he's not the biggest, Fitzvarden. I think he's 5'9", 5'10", so along those lines. So I expect him to be more of a bit of a ground duel player. I mean that in the sense of I expect Taylor to be the one who probably tracks him at centre half. If Kramer's going to play it right back, I don't think Cooper's going to want to run with. I think he's 5'8", actually. I think he's quite a short player, but I don't expect Cooper to go running alongside Fitzgarden, right? I expect that to be Taylor. Taylor's underratedly very, very quick. Yeah, he's not as
he does.
slow as he looks or as slow as people made out. He's actually quite quick, and he's very, very good with his feet, and he's very good on the ball. If one of them's going to if he's going to get passed off to anyone, it's going to be Taylor, right? And Taylor, in my opinion, since he come back at Ipswich, has been phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. He was in my ranking for man of the match against Borough because he just blocks everything. But this is a different test, right? We're not going up against big physical centre forwards this time. We're going up against nitty little centre forwards who want to play between the lines, who want to play little 1-2s and get him behind. It could pose a problem with us because obviously Taylor and Cooper, while I don't think they're incredibly slow, I just don't think they're quick or quick enough where they're going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Kvitsgarden, and we're going to have to be a little bit defensively stout and rely on the likes of Billy Mitchell to maybe drop in to try and pick up his runs, but without sacrificing us being able to get up the field. We don't want to sit back too much, right? But this is a battle that one of them's got to win, whether it's Cooper, whether it's Taylor. Someone's got to go through him. Someone's got to get right on his ankles, but I do expect it to be Taylor. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it'd be Taylor as well because he's, like I say, Cooper's been excellent for us as well. But I think Taylor's that sort of player that would just get stuck right in, wouldn't he? Like I say, he's looking at Taylor since he's coming in, and obviously where he had these little injuries, he's coming back to the Ipswich game. He's so calm on the ball for a defender. Like, he don't panic, does he? He don't just like boot the ball away or just he controls it and then try to look for that pass. So, yeah, no, I think obviously, like I say, I think this Norwich striker is quick as well. What I've seen of him, if the ball's going between Cooper and Taylor, it's going to be a bit hard. I have faith in Patterson to come out and get the lines because he's quite quick as well, Patterson. No, Taylor will, I think, do a job on him. I think he'll bully him, he'll control him, and obviously he'd be that first couple of times he'd probably give it a little niggle with him, like just make sure he knows that he's behind him and he's there. Like I say, Taylor's been great for us. I feel confident with Taylor and Cooper at the back. A pair of them together have been excellent. So
yeah, I think you're right there. I think I don't even think it matters who they're going up against. They're just both colossal rocks, you know. They're like the cliffs of Dover. The pair of them together, it's it's remarkable how well they defend all types of strikers, whether it be quick strikers who like to get them behind on the ground or big physical strikers who like it in the air and want to try and dominate you. They've been brilliant. They're the matchups we've gone with, though. That is Sturge against Magoma, Fisher v Aziz, and Kvitsgarden up against Caleb Taylor. Let me know if you think of any others and get in the chat and tell us who you think could pose a problem to us or any battles that we should win. Let's move on to the last segment of the show then, being our predicted 11s and our predictions. Dan, I'll go with your one first, mate. Tell me your starting 11 and why.
And slowly get him in. So I've actually gone with Billy Mitchell and Bannon in the middle because obviously, like I say, when Bannon come on yesterday, he controls that midfield. You know, he's so calm, and some of the balls, like I say, he passes, it'll help us out going forward. So that's the reason why I put Bannon in. I just want to feel like 2 games in a row for Denor might be a bit too much, especially for being out for so long. So I've then gone, on my left, I've gone with actually Watson. I just feel with his pace and trickety, and he can whip a ball in as well and get them aerial duels for Coburn or Ivanovic, whoever plays. But yeah, I've gone with Watson. On my right, I've got obviously Aziz. My number 10, I put Negley as number 10, so just behind the attacker. I just feel like with Negley, he controls that midfield as well. He always wants the ball when he can drive out of the defence. And then obviously up top, I've gone with Coburn with his physicality. And obviously with his recent form at the moment, 5 goals in 5 games, you can't drop him really. I know it's not fair on Ivanovic from yesterday's game, but I just think that side there would be capable with the physicality and obviously the pressure going against Norwich. And my prediction, I think, is going to be a 2-0 win to Millwall, and I think it's going to be Coburn again and Aziz.
Yeah, no, good team, mate. Look, and valid points. I've actually changed my team from the one that I told you I was going to pick. I'll send it to you after. And this is because I originally wanted to go 4-4-2. I just don't think it might be Kasper comes on rather than starts. I agree. He played a good 60, but he's been out for a while. To play again a couple of days later and I think Bannon made a huge impact. And I don't want to see a 4-4-2 with Bannon and Mitchell. I don't think that would work as such. I think Kasper and Mitchell are the best to play a 4-4-2. So I've changed it up, but I've gone with the same back five, right? Patterson, Kramer, Cooper, Taylor and Sturge. I've gone with Billy and Bannon in the centre of midfield, Negley out wide, Aziz out wide, left and right respectively, Coburn up top, and I'm going to sit Langstaff in the 10. I just think that we're going to need to match Norwich up right there. They're going to play a 4-2-3-1 as well. I think Langstaff is going to be fresh. He hasn't really played much football over the last couple of games. So I'd give him, a solid 45, solid 60, see how the game's going, and then bring Ivanovic on if we need to, bring Kasper on, and then you could change it to a more dynamic 4-4-2, maybe get after the game, or you could take Langstaff off, bring Kundal on. I just think you want to go for the game, but you don't want to be detrimental to what you're good at, right? And I just don't think Bannon and Billy would be a very good 4-4-2. I think they could get overrun, especially with a 3-man or 5-man midfield, that Norwich will deploy in a 4-2-3-1. Yeah. I think we need to kind of crowd it a little bit, and I think Langstaff's press will help with that. Not that Ivanovic and Coburn don't press, but I just feel you'll have Langstaff or even a Kundal to be able to drop a little bit deeper and try and help nullify that and crowd the midfield. So, yeah, that's what I've gone with. And then maybe you change up, you bring Kasper on late, you bring Kundal on late, or you bring Ivanovic on. You got the option there, right? Neil went for it yesterday. He said this is a stage of the season to go for it. I do agree. I would agree if this game was a week later, but it's not. It's in a couple of days' time. And then 4 days later, you've got another game, a night trip to West Brom, which I fully would then expect, Ivanovic to probably come in, Kasper to probably come in, maybe even Doughty. So I think you've got to just go with what we can go with at the moment without risking players' health and hope that it isn't detrimental to not being able to risk attack and reward together and actually get after Norwich. So that's what I've gone with. My prediction is going to be, I think Millwall are going to win the game 2-0 as well. I do think defensively we'll handle Norwich. I think we'll score goals as well. And I think Coburn just keeps it going. I think Coburn scores, and I think Juicy Jake comes up to deal with the aerial battles as well. I think he gets on the end of one and scores and makes it 2-0. I don't think it'd be a particularly a game like it was a particular game like yesterday. I don't think we're going to be completely bombarded. But Norwich will have their patterns of play because they've got good players. But I do think it'd be a bit end to end. It might be a little bit cagey at first because at home it's always a little bit more cagey. It's a bit more pressure, right? So I just hope we get an early goal, deal with that, and then and get after them. So that's what I'm going to go with. That's my team. That's my prediction. Any final thoughts, Dan?
No, I'm looking forward to the game now on Monday. See what the lads can bring to us and keep this momentum going. Like I say, we're second now. It's nice to say we've got to stay there now. No. Well, I know, like I say, Ipswich got two games in hand over us. But to be fair, they're not easy games. They've got the 2 games they've got. They've got Portsmouth and Southampton. So anything could happen. Like I say, it's going to be twists and turns. But I have full faith in Mill and Alex Neil. And yeah.
No, that's it. 6 games left, 6 cup finals left, starting with Norwich at home. Let's get after it. But yeah, if you like the content, drop your 11s, drop your predictions in the comments below. And please like, please share, please subscribe to the channel. And we will see you on the next one.